This is Ken Kreitzer for Sons of the American Legion Radio, and I have a great chance to visit with a great friend, Admiral Rabbi Harold Robinson, who we've worked with on building the Jewish Chaplains Monument at Arlington National Cemetery, and he is a career Navy officer, many years of service with the Marine Corps, and now is a representative of the Jewish Welfare Board as well as a number of major organizations. Admiral, always good to see you.
Good to be back with you. And I just want to say it really is good to be back with Ken Kreitzer, who came to me a bunch of years ago and pointed out that as a Catholic, he was doing a research on the priests, the Roman priests who had perished in service to our country, had been to Arlington, had seen the monuments to the Protestant chaplains, to the Roman Catholic chaplains. Why wasn't there, he asked, why wasn't there one for the Jewish chaplains? And that motivated the Jewish community, with Ken's help, to create a monument so that now there's a monument for Protestant, Jewish, and Catholic, three monuments, chaplains who perished in the 20th century. But not exactly. We discovered that the Protestant memorial is not up to date, has not been updated since World War II. Korean War has a significant number of names, and every name is significant. There are several names from Vietnam and moving forward. So we, Ken and I, are cooperating along with the National Conference on Ministry to the Armed Forces, which is an umbrella organization of all denominations, to update the Protestant memorial. And I just want to call attention to the fact, for the Sons of the American Legion, for anybody listening or watching, that this is an only in America moment where a graduate of Providence College, a Catholic fellow, and a rabbi are spearheading an effort to update the Protestant Chaplains Memorial at Arlington, and then to go forward to create yet an additional memorial that for those who have perished of any faith, because while Protestant, Catholic, and Jewish might have described the chaplain corps of the United States Armed Forces in the 20th century, in the 21st century, the chaplain corps is Protestant, Catholic, Jewish, Buddhist, Jain, Hindu, the list goes on. So the effort now is to establish a memorial for the 21st century losses that will be all faiths. One corps of chaplains and one monument for those who have perished in service to our country wearing both the nation's cloth, the military uniform, and the clergy cloth of their faith. It's a very special opportunity to work again with Ken and to represent the American religious community in acknowledging these heroes of faith.
Well, we appreciate, it's such an honor to be able to work on a project at Arlington, work on a project with you, Admiral. And one of the things that stands out in my mind of that October 24th, 2011 dedication of the Jewish Chaplains Monument, there were hundreds of people there, senior military officers, members of Congress, but about 50 family members of the named chaplains. We honored about a dozen chaplains on the Jewish Chaplains Monument, and how appreciative they were of the recognition of their family member, even at this date, to be recognized at Arlington National Seminary. It's great to see. And what were your thoughts of the family members?
Well, I think it's very precious. We have a poem in Jewish life that was written about 50 years ago. To everyone there is a name. There's a name given them by their parents, and a name given them by God, and a name given them by their actions. And to memorialize a name, to carry forward a name, is to preserve not just the memory of that individual, but in some sense to preserve the life of that individual, to give them another measure of immortality, well deserved by their loyalty to country and to people, and so that we were able to do that, and you could see it reflecting off the faces of the families who had lived with their loss for, in many cases, over 50 years, had lived with this loss and never felt that anyone had acknowledged that. This was America's moment to give them one great hug.
Absolutely, and a great friend of ours working on this who did so much of the fundraising for this, Saul Moglin, who is the founder of the Brooklyn Wall of Remembrance, an amazing 9/11 monument in the ballpark in Coney Island, Queens. He was so proud to help with this, and I know one of his dreams is another aspect of this project. We kind of call it our second phase is a walkway, so that visitors can more easily get onto Chaplains Hill. It is a hill. It's about 25 feet above the street level, and in bad weather especially, it's not easy to walk up. But Saul's dream is that we add a walkway that would meet the government standards for ADA and allow all the groups to visit Chaplains Hill, as I say, from the scout groups to the honor flights. That'll certainly adding a walkway will certainly be a major addition to Chaplains Hill when we can get that project get that completed.
Well, it's not just a 25-foot hill, it's a very precipitous slope. And with wet grass, even those of us who trained with Marines find it difficult to get up that hill without a walkway. And that's a shame, because it is such a precious site within Arlington Memorial Cemetery, within the cemetery, to get more people up to the top of that. Also, it's an area where various groups have commemorative services. The Army Chaplain Corps commemorates its 241st birthday up on Chaplains Hill, but only the mighty can get there without a walkway. So that's just wrong, and that needs to be fixed. That'll be a huge project. It's establishing the memorial seems self-evident to people. Getting that walkway is equally important, but it's not the blinding flash of the obvious to some people, and it's also a much more costly endeavor.
Well, something that we think we want to push for, and if any listener has access to or the ability to donate materials, we're trying to attract donations of some of the paving stones and the cement and the sand and the other aspects of it that we'll need. Please feel free to contact us. Admiral, I got to ask you, while you're here, tell us a little bit about your career, very distinguished service as a Navy chaplain, and serving many of your years with the Marine Corps. Just maybe if you could highlight for us just a little bit of your career service in the U.S. military.
Well, my career is I have a lot to be modest about in my career. Most of the time, I started out as the reserve community, and what I will take a little bit of pride in is that back in the year 2000, 1999 and 2000, I highlighted the fact that the Navy did not have a good process to mobilize naval assets for Marine units. A Marine unit requires chaplain assistant, we call RPs, but corpsmen and doctors and dentists and any other number of naval elements. And we didn't have a good process. And everybody told me, hey, chaplain, don't worry about it. We'll never have to do that kind of mobilization again. And as a matter of fact, I was very proud to pull together a conference in August 2011 where everybody finally agreed that this was an issue and that we needed to tackle it. And of course, that was less than 3 weeks before 9/11. So what I do take pride in is my ability to be the person in September 2011 that knew how mobilization worked and was able to get the Marine elements and also the Coast Guard, because Ground Zero involved a great deal of Coast Guard folks there at the Trade Center. So I was able to actually pull the right levers to get many chaplains, corpsmen, doctors, chaplains, assistants, RPs mobilized. And that's what I take a great deal of pride in. And then to visit them all over the world and see these great young Americans serving in the 120-degree bowels of the ship never seeing the light of day, and serving on mountaintops in Afghanistan, equally warm in summer as the bowels of a ship, but then frigid and freezing cold in the wintertime, and to shake their hands and to look at them and have them look back and say, yes, I'm here to get a job done, and sir, I'm going to get it done. It's wonderful Americans we've created that our country has to be very proud of, and their sacrifice is unimagined by 99% of America that has never served.
Well, you are very modest about how much you've contributed, and I know there are just countless numbers of members of the military who appreciate the times that you've gone to see them, provided services, greeted them, and people of all faiths, I'm sure, appreciate all the times that you've come to visit them. And one thing I do want to mention about Chaplains Hill in Arlington, it's in Section 2. And one of the things I say is that all of the named chaplains, there's about 150 named chaplains at Chaplains Hill today, is it faces Eisenhower Drive, which is the road to Section 60. So when a caisson is taking a fallen soldier from the recent conflicts, they're going right by Chaplains Hill. And I always say those chaplains are all providing a blessing to those fallen soldiers. I know you've been there for those events, and it's got to be something that you just never forget.
You never forget. And you look up from Section 60, which is the section where the current fallen heroes are being laid to rest, and you look up from there through McClellan Arch up onto the hill. It's a very powerful visual. And to have the sense that history is looking back down on us and how our country honors those who have served is it's very important to me that serving in an age where less than 1% of the United States community serves, and we're so vastly different. When we were a country of 150 million people during World War II, we had, depending upon how you count, close to 20 million people in uniform out of 150 total Americans. 150 million total Americans. And when you take out the people too old, too young, otherwise ineligible, that's a huge percentage. And today less than 30% of Americans between the age of 18 and 30 are even eligible to serve. They're ineligible because of medical, physical, criminal, drug, all kinds of. So to keep America alert to our to the what should be the automatic gratitude we have to those who have defended our freedom and who allow us to sit in White Plains, New York, and enjoy this beautiful August day without worry and without concern. How to keep these young men and women, and they're all young to me, at my age, how to keep them before the, right in the optics of America writ large. And I know the American Legion, which I'm a member of, has that as part of its mission, and to honor not only the sacrifice of this generation, but the sacrifice of those who came before, and especially the sacrifice of those who have given the last full measure of selfless devotion and of their families. I always prayed for the warrior and the worrier, because that family at home worried about their son or daughter is also making a sacrifice that we need to treasure.
Absolutely. I was talking to the parent of a U.S. Marine just yesterday who said it's, they go on deployments, they know what they're doing, they understand the situation, but back home it can be so much to be concerned about. Rabbi Admiral Harold Robinson, always good to see you. Glad we got together today here in White Plains, and we're looking forward. We're making steps every day on the additions to Chaplains Hill, the Protestant Chaplains Monument and the Interfaith Going Forward Monument, and it's just a pleasure to work with you.
And thank you, Ken. Always a pleasure and a privilege to work with you. Glad we were able to get together and just remember, go Navy, beat Army.
I'll be at West Point football practice this afternoon. Great to see you, Admiral. This is Ken Kreitzer for Sons of the American Legion Radio in White Plains, New York.